Alright, welcome to the video. In this one, we're going to be discussing the 9v9 formation, the 4-3-1. Now, with this one, there's a little bit of an alteration because we have 4 defenders, right? A back 4. We have a number 2, which is the right back, number 4, center back, number 5, center back, and number 3, left back. Okay? And it's really similar in theory to the 2-3-3. What really changes is just the starting positions of the number 2 and number 3. So obviously they're no longer called wingers. They're called fullbacks or wingbacks. Okay, and you're going to see how this kind of plays out in this scenario, but it's a starting back 4, so it gives you a little bit more options in terms of from deeper positions. Okay, so they start deeper and then they work their way up, and you're going to see that in a second. So instead of starting up here by the 9, they're starting in the back by the 4, 5, and 6. Okay, so let's get up into the scenario where we start attacking-wise from the goalkeeper. Okay, so we'll add the defenders in a second. Hold on. There they are. Okay, so we go into from the goalkeeper, we go into our shape. Okay, and you can see, like I mentioned before, most teams are going to play a 3-2-3. So again, now we have 5 or 6 players that we should be able to pass through in this system. When we start from the goalkeeper, I will encourage the 8 and 10 to stay higher to try and keep the center mids back. And also try and keep the center backs back. Okay, they don't want to move into a situation where they're right next to the center backs. They want to have that spacing so they don't know, the center backs don't know, do they step in or do they ask the center midfielder to cover? Okay, now really they should just cover and then they can push these guys on so then it's 5v5 and then 3v3. But that way at least it adds a little bit of confusion. So they just find those pockets, which you're going to see in a second. Right, so the ball moves to the 4, the right center back, so you'll see I'll freeze it in a second. Okay, right here. So because of this scenario, now I should have moved these players. I didn't, but you'll see in a second. There's a passing angle here. You could maybe pass into the 6. You could pass into the 8 as long as you find those pockets. And this is why. Because if the 10 and 8 step up and you leave these 2 players higher, should be a nice simple pass through. Okay, now in this situation, for the position of the 2, they might have to drop a little bit deeper to make that angle to pass and then go. But in this scenario, I show you what happens here. I'm going to have it go into the 8 because there's the pocket. The 2 recognizes the pocket and now flies forward to create an overlap. So the ball's traveling, and now you can see this 3 will come inside. The 5, 4, and 1 are going to step up, and the 10 comes centrally to here. Right, to give us that overload. So now you can see we've released, we've gotten the overlap. It's now 1, 2, 3, 4 with 3 defenders. And the other 3 is going to bomb forward now. Okay, so now we're driving forward. And you can see here they're trying to remain narrow. The 9's trying to drag the 6. Because now you can see the other side is now open. We have an overload. So now we play across. The ball goes wide. The defense now has to reshift. So you're going to see that here in a second. Defenders are now shifting over. And then the 8 will fly into the box, play it, and go in. Because you could expect that maybe the 3 has enough space to either cross or beat the defender 1v1. Now we're going to see happen. The 4 comes over to defend him. We play a quick 1-2. Get behind, and now we're trying to get more runners in the box. And then we get the cross in. It's a cutback, and then shot. And then you'll see here, we'll transition for a defensive phase. We try and go back to our positions in that 4-3-1. And I'll freeze it right there for you. Right there. Okay, so now you can see we have our back 4, we have our 3, and we have our 1. This is a really good defensive shape, obviously because if they have 3 players, we have 4. Right, so we have 1+, and then in midfield we'll have at least 1+. Now, they'll have the advantage from the back end because they'll have 3 players here, but they're going to struggle to create, but they'll have a lot of spaces here. They'll have a lot of spaces here. But what's really easy for us defensively in this formation is, for example, you could have the 8 take the 10, the 6 take the 8, and then you could push on the 10 with the 9 and play 2v3. Right, and that way you're matched up here and we have an extra player back here. And it's a useful formation in a defensive standpoint, and that's something that we could use. So again, what I would do maybe if we're struggling to try and get a grip on the game here, and they're beating us into these areas, right, I could push the 9 up into this pocket, The 10 pushes up as a second forward, and then the 6 and the 8 step into this area and defend these two players. And then we still have our back 4. Or we switch man for man again, and we go 3, 2, and 3. But if I'm going to play this formation, that would be my probable alternate switch, is push the 9 up with the 10, so it'd be 2 up front, so it'd really be a 4, 2, 2 from a defensive standpoint. That way we can try and put a little bit more pressure on their back 3. So hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully you've enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one as we start discussing 11v11. Here we go.